Good morning, everyone. My name is Anjana Pradeep, student of MTech first year, IES College of Engineering. Today, I am going to take presentation on the topic Foundation in Civil Engineering. As you can see, Figure 1 shows image of the foundation of a constructing building. Next slide. Foundation consists of two parts. Firstly, superstructure, which is above the plinth level, and then the substructure, which is below the plinth level. Substructure is also known as the foundation and forms base for any structure. Generally, about 30% of the total construction cost is spent on the foundation. The soil on which the foundation rests is also called the foundation soil. Objectives of the foundation are to distribute the total load coming on the structure on a large area, to support the structure, to give enough stability to the structure against various disturbing forces such as wind and rain, to prepare a next surface for concreting and masonry works. Next slide. The two main type of foundations are shallow foundation and deep foundation. Types of shallow foundation are isolated footing, combined footing, strip footing, mat or raft foundation. Different types of deep foundations are pile foundation, pier foundation, well foundation. Types of pile foundations are friction pile, load bearing pile and end bearing pile. Underrail pile is a type of load bearing pile. Next slide. The depth of shallow foundation is less than or equal to the width. The first type of shallow foundation is isolated footing, which are mainly adopted for frame type of structure where several columns are to be constructed. Here, the columns involved can be provided with masonry or concrete footing. If masonry footing is provided, steps are given and the foundation area is thus increased so that the stress is developed at the within the base. In case of masonry footing, the projection of each step must be half brick thick and each step is made of one or two bricks putting together. Concrete can be molded to any shapes and hence concrete footing can be used for slope footings. Now next slide. Figure 3 shows different type of isolated footings such as sloped column footing, simple wall footing, simple column and footing, stepped wall footing, stepped column and footing. Figure 4 shows images of a spread foundation. Next slide. Figure 5 shows image of an isolated footing. The parts of the footing are concrete pad at the bottom, steel beams or grillages at middle, iron plate at top and column is placed at the top. Next slide. The second type of shallow footing is combined footing. This type of footing is adopted when the space between two columns is so small that the foundation for individual column will overlap. The combined footing are proportioned in such a way that the center of gravity of the load coincides with the center of gravity of the foundation. Hence, these footings have either a trapezoidal or a rectangular shape. Next slide. The third type of shallow footing is strap footing. A strap footing consists of two or more footing of individual column connected by a beam which is known as strap. The strap beam connects the spread footing of the two columns by not remaining in contact with the soil and thus do not transfer any pressure to the soil. The function of the strap beam is to transfer the heavily load of the outer column to the inner column. In doing so, the strap beam would be subjected to bending moment and shear force and which should be designed to withstand the load coming. Next slide. The fourth type of shallow foundation is raft foundation. A raft or mat foundation is a combined footing that covers the entire area beneath a structure and supports all the walls and columns. When the allowable soil pressure is low or the building loads are heavy, the use of raft foundation are done. The mat or raft tends to bridge over the erratic deposits and eliminates the differential settlement. Raft foundation is also used to reduce settlement above highly compressible soil. Next slide. For determining size of footing, area of footing is to be calculated by dividing total load including self-weight to its allowable soil pressure. Next slide. Deep foundation. Deep foundation consists of pile, pier and well foundation. It consists of huge masonry cylinder carrying down through the soil, which may be supported by slides of soil or may be supported on the solid rocks, that is hard stratum. The first type of deep foundation is pile foundation. Pile is driven in the ground vertically or with some incline to transfer the load safely. Next slide. In pile foundation, loads are supported in two ways. If the load is supported by the effect of friction between soil and the pile skin, it is called friction pile. Friction pile may be made up of cast iron, cement concrete, timber, steel, rough iron and composite materials. If the load is supported by resting the pile on a very hard stratum, it is called load-bearing pile. Load-bearing pile are steel sheet piles, concrete pile and timber piles. Piles may be cast in situ or precast. They may be cast or uncast. Next slide. This is the figure showing pile cap. Pile cap are thick slab used to tie a group of piles together to support and transmit column loads to the piles. Next slide. Figure 7 showing the load bearing pile. Figure 8 showing the friction pile. Figure 9 shows the batter piles. Underream piles. Structures built on expansive soil often crack due to differential movement caused due to swelling and shrinking of soil. Underream piles are provided to satisfy solution for such problems. The principle of this type of foundation is to transfer the load to a hard stratum which has the ultimate bearing capacity to take the load. Single and double underream piles may also be provided for foundation of structures having poor overlying firm soils. Next slide. Figure 10 shows image of cast in situ piles. Pile foundation are used when if the soil near the surface does not have sufficient bearing capacity to support the structural loads, or if the estimated settlement of the soil exceeds tolerable limits. It is also used when if excavations to construct a shallow foundation on a firm soil are difficult or expensive. Next slide. Figure 11 shows the soil pressure distribution acting on a non-cohesive soil. Figure 12 shows the soil pressure distribution in cohesive soil. Bearing capacity of a soil. It is defined as the maximum load per unit area which the soil will resist safely without displacement. The bearing capacity of the soil can be found by loading the soil and noting the corresponding settlements and dividing by its maximum load to the area on which the load is applied. The maximum load is obtained from the graph between the settlement and load. Safe bearing load of capacity of soil equals to ultimate bearing capacity of the soil divided by factor of safety. Next slide. For ordinary framed structures of concrete, the permissible angular distortion is 1 by 500 and the desirable value is 1 by 1000. The maximum differential settlement should not exceed 25 mm in case of foundations on sandy soil and 40 mm in case of clayey soil. In case of non-cohesive soil such as sand and gravel, the allowable bearing capacity should be reduced by 50% provided that the water table is above or nearly bearing surface of the soil. The bearing capacity of reclaimed soil or shrinkable soil can be taken as 50 kN per meter square in the absence of site data. Next slide. Artificial methods to improve bearing capacity of the soil are by increasing the depth of foundation, by draining the subsoil water, by compacting the soil, by confining the soil mass, by cementing grouting, by injecting chemical like silicates, etc. The essential requirements of a good foundation are: the foundation should be so located that it is able to resist any unexpected future influence which may adversely affect its performance. The foundation should be stable or safe against any possible failure. The foundation should not settle or deflect to such an extent that will impair. Next slide. The second type of deep foundations are pier. It is a vertical bridge support. It is a foundation for carrying a heavy structure load which is constructed inside in a deep excavation. The important measures which is to be taken in consideration during the construction of pier are as follows. Drilling through wet or caving soil may need use of temporary steel casing, may also require the use of trimming and a pump to dewater a hole and place concrete. This is more expensive and require large diameter holes. For the purpose of reinforcing, it is difficult to get bar to the full depth of the pier with the proper concrete cover in deep hole. Use centralizes. Use large diameter bars versus more bars. Next slide. Should not leave holes open for any length of time even in dry condition. It should have concreted and filled right after drilling and cleaning. Next is well foundation. Well foundations are deep foundation. They provide a solid and massive foundation for heavy loads and are commonly used for transferring heavy loads to deep strata in river or seabed. Wells provides a large section modules with the minimum cross-sectional area and hence effectively in taking large vertical and horizontal loads even when the unsupported length is large. Well foundations are designed in such a way that the loads are directly transmitted by bearing to the base of the well, which ignoring the skin friction developed by grip length of the well and passive pressure offered by the soil. Next slide. The size of the well is determined to a large extent taking into consideration a safe bearing capacity of the soil at a foundation level. The components of well foundations are pier, well cap, top plug, staining, sand filling, curve, cutting edge and bottom plug. Types of pile. Concrete piles are mainly two types: cast in situ concrete piles and precast concrete piles. Cast in situ concrete piles are two types: cased cast in situ and cased cast in situ. Steel pipes are three types: edge piles, cylindrical piles and tapered piles. Then another two types of piles are timber piles and composite piles. Next slide. Types of pile construction. First type is displacement piles. It causes the soil to be displaced radially as well as vertically as pile shaft is driven or jacked into the ground. Non-displacement piles or replacement piles, it causes the soil to be removed and the resulting hole filled with concrete or a precast concrete pile is dropped into the hole and grouted in. Next slide. Method of installation of piles. First method is by drop-in weight or drop hammer. It is commonly used method of insertion of displacement piles. The second method is diesel hammer. It is mostly suitable to drive pile in non-cohesive granular soil. Third, by using vibratory hammers or vibratory method of pile driving. It is very effective in driving pile through non-cohesive granular soil. Fourth, by using jack method of insertion. Figure 13 shows pile installation using drop hammer. Figure 14 shows pile driving rigs or temporarily supported piles. Jacking method of insertion. Jack piles are mostly commonly used in underpinning structures by excavating underneath short length of pile, which can be inserted and jacked into the ground using the underside of existing structure as a reaction. It consists of packing, pump, a hydraulic jack and precast concrete sections. Non-displacement piles. There are four types: small diameter cast in situ, large diameter cast in situ partially performed, pile grout or concrete intrude piles. Here is the first problem. Determine the ultimate bearing capacity of a strip footing having depth of foundation of 1 meter. Using Terzaghi theory and assume general shear failure, take phi equal to 35 degree, gamma equal to 18 kilonewton per meter square, C equal to 15 kilonewton per meter square and C equal to 55.8 and gamma equal to 42.4 and NQ equal to 41.4. By using Terzaghi theory, we know the equation QU equal to C into NC plus gamma into DF into NQ plus 0.5 B into gamma into N gamma. Here it is given that B equal to 1.2 meter, D equal to 1 meter, phi equal to 35 degree, gamma equal to 18 kilonewton per meter square and C equal to 15 kilonewton per meter square. By substituting these values in the given equation, we get Qu equal to 2070 kilonewton per meter square. Next question. Determine the allowable gross load and net allowable load for a square footing of 2 meter and with a depth of foundation of 1 meter. Using Terzaghi theory and assume local shear failure, take factor of safety of 3. The soil at the site has phi equal to 25 degree, gamma equal to 18 kilonewton per meter square, C equal to 15 kilonewton per meter square and C dash equal to 14.8 and gamma dash equal to 3.2 and NQ dash equal to 5.6. For a square footing, we know that QU equal to 1.2 C dash into NC dash plus gamma into DF into NQ dash plus 0.4 into B into gamma into N gamma dash. Here it is given that C dash equal to 2 by 3rd of C. Here the C value is 15. By substituting C value we get C equal to 10 kilonewton per meter square. By substituting all these values, we get Qu equal to 325 kilonewton per meter square. The net ultimate bearing capacity equal to Qu minus gamma into dF, which is equal to 325 minus 18 into 1, that is 307 kilonewton per meter square. The safe bearing capacity Qns equal to Qnu by F, that is factor of safety, which is equal to 307 by 3 equal to 102.3 kilonewton per meter square, which is the obtained safe bearing capacity